There are many reasons to be cautious when it comes to artificial intelligence or large language models. In today's video, we're going to look at a study that showed that ChatGPT is tending to shift toward the right when it comes to politics. So stay tuned as we dig into this video and let's get into this. We're looking at this article on SciPost, and the article is called ChatGPT is Shifting Rightwards Politically from March 2025. And let's read. An examination of a large number of ChatGPT responses found that the model consistently exhibits values aligned with the libertarian left segment of the political spectrum. However, newer versions of ChatGPT show a noticeable shift toward the political right. The paper was published in Humanities and Social Sciences Communications. Large language models, LLMs, are artificial intelligence systems trained to understand and generate human language. They learn from massive datasets that include books, articles, websites, and other text sources. By identifying patterns in these data, LLMs can answer questions, write essays, translate languages, and more. Although they don't think or understand like humans, they predict the most likely words based on context. Often the responses generated by LLMs reflect certain political views. While LLMs don't possess personal political beliefs, their outputs can mirror patterns found in the data that they were trained on. And this is a really important point. That's a really good opening couple of paragraphs to explain what large language models are. We tend to think of the term artificial intelligence as if there are computers or, software that just thinks for itself and just creates out of nothing. But in a sense, you can almost think of these large language models like ChatGPT or Gemini, DeepSeek. You can think of these almost as glorified search engines in a way. That's how I kind of like to think about them, in that they are going to a large data set. So they're trawling through the internet, and it can be the public internet, or it can be, you can give it a private sort of data set. It's just these software are just going through the data, trawling through, and then using all of that data and information and text to generate responses to prompts that you ask it. So you ask it, what is the biggest country in the world? And ChatGPT will go to the internet, all of the available data, all of the billions and billions of gig or whatever it is online. And then what's novel about these large language models is that they can respond to you rather than giving you a link to a website, which is what search engines do. They respond to you by giving you they can give you, in any way you want them to respond. They can give you an essay, they can write you a song, they can give you an image, whatever it is that you want to do, they can do. But in a sense, they are not creative. They are simply using what is already there. And this is where this political thing comes into play, as we're going to see. It's making the point that these LLMs don't have views of themselves, as far as we know, but because they're looking at the internet and what's out there on the internet, the responses that they give will reflect whatever is out there on the internet. Very important to be aware of this, because obviously if whatever is on the internet is a bit dodgy or leans in a certain direction politically, so are the responses that ChatGPT and other LLMs give us. But let's go back to the article. Since much of the data originates from the internet, news media, books, and social media, it can contain political biases. As a result, an LLM's answers may lean liberal or conservative depending on the topic. This doesn't mean the model quote unquote believes anything, it simply predicts words based on previous patterns. Additionally, the way a question is phrased can influence how politically slanted the answer appears. Study author Yifei Liu and her colleagues aimed to explore whether and how the ideological stance of ChatGPT 3.5 and ChatGPT 4 has changed over time. ChatGPT is one of the most popular and widely used LLMs, and the authors hypothesized that later versions might display a significant ideological shift compared to earlier ones. To evaluate ChatGPT's political orientation, the researchers used the political compass test, a tool that maps political beliefs along two axes: economic, which is the left-right, and social, which is from authoritarian to libertarian. The results showed that ChatGPT consistently aligned with values in the libertarian left quadrant. However, newer versions of the model exhibited a clear shift toward the political right. Libertarian left values typically emphasize individual freedom, social equality, and voluntary cooperation, while opposing both authoritarian control and economic exploitation. In contrast, economic right values prioritize free market capitalism, property rights, and minimal government intervention in the economy. This shift is particularly noteworthy given the widespread use of LLMs and their potential influence on societal values. Importantly, our study controlled for factors such as user interaction and language, and the observed shifts were not directly linked to changes in training datasets, the study authors concluded. While this research provides valuable insights into the dynamic nature of value alignment in AI, it also underscores limitations, including the challenge of isolating all external variables that may contribute to these shifts. These findings suggest a need for continuous monitoring of AI systems to ensure ethical value alignment, particularly as they increasingly integrate into human decision-making and knowledge systems. The study sheds light on the current tendencies in ChatGPT responses. However, it is important to note that LLMs have no value systems of their own. Their responses depend on the selection of materials that they are trained on and instructions received by their developers. As these change, so will the answers provided by these systems. So I thought that was a really good and really informative article on artificial intelligence and large language models. Hopefully you've got a better understanding or a clearer understanding of what ChatGPT actually is, what these large language models actually are. And I hope that this will encourage you to be cautious when you are using these LLMs. I'm going to make lots of videos about artificial intelligence and LLMs over the coming months and years, because I think it's really important, particularly for younger people, to understand what these things are, how they work, and to develop that maturity and that critical thinking and that discernment to not just take whatever is. As we're seeing Google and all these other search engines, they're making AI LLMs become much more prominent. When you search in Google, the first thing you're going to get bombarded with is their artificial intelligence summary at the top. And I know what's going to happen over time. People who are not that people who are not that meticulous will just go with whatever the LLM bit says, whatever that AI bit says, you'll just go with that and you won't bother to study further. But understand, I will make this point over and over again in videos, to understand that these large language models are far from infallible, and it's really important that you retain your ability, retain your right to critically think through things and to find stuff out for yourself, rather than just relying on the chatbot or the butler or whatever they want to call it to do the work for you. Keep your brain working. It'll actually help you to keep you functioning longer into deep old age as well. All right, thanks for watching. My name's Eli Wananda. You can find lots of videos on my channel that you probably find quite interesting. There's one here which YouTube will recommend, and there's one here which I think dovetails nicely with the topic of this video. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Peace.